Good afternoon, everybody. So, let me introduce myself first. I'm Naseef. I run a female wellness and hygiene brand called FemiSafe. So, today we have three interesting fellow panelists here. They three are from very different sectors, very different industries. One is from D2C, one is from AI SaaS, and another is one B2B Agri-Tech. So, one thing that's common with all of them, they all have raised at least 2 rounds of funding, or almost close to it, as far I know. So yeah, so I'll let them introduce before we go ahead. Can you give us short intro about each of you?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I'm Swaroop. I'm the CEO and co-founder of My Designation. So it's an expressive fashion brand born and brought out of Trivandrum, Kerala. So first of all, just a small thing. How many non-Malayalis are there in the house? Everyone understands Malayalam? Or? Okay, cool. The thing is, I often love to speak in Malayalam when it comes to my entrepreneur story and the things that I've gone through, because it has to be authentic and it has to come out of heart, right? Sometimes you can't put it in English. That's why I just asked. So yeah, I'm Swaroop. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, I'm Navaneeth. I'm the founder of Tooljet. So Tooljet is an enterprise application development platform. So we are into B2B and we are into developer tooling. It's been around 4 years, and that's a short description about the company. And since the discussion is related to funding, we have raised 2 rounds of fundings. And total, we have raised around $7 million from VCs like Nexus, Microsoft, etc.
Good evening. My name is George. I'm the founder of Growcoms. We are a spice tech company, so we export all forms of value-added spices to the global markets and to the Indian brands in a very lean, transparent kind of a way. We'd like to call ourselves as the Uber, Airbnb equivalent of manufacturing of spices, because we don't own assets. We completely depend on third party, but we stitch it up on a nice, transparent kind of a platform. When we've raised around 2 formal rounds of funds, close to around $5 million. And we are proudly headquartered out of Cochin.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the introduction. So before we even go into the fundraising part, right? So lately I've been meeting a lot of founders or bootstrapped. They all have one common notion that investors actually interfere in your day-to-day operation. They can come and ruin your business. They lose control over their business. So before we go to that topic of fundraising, let's break this, or let's address this. I just want to have a small comment on how has your experience so far in that regard. Let's start with Swaroop first.
So my story of fundraising is a bit different. It might not be as usual that we hear. So being from Trivandrum, that's one of the things, from Kerala, I'm being very honest. I have pitched to a lot of investors in my early days. I've pitched to banks, I've pitched for decks. But one of the major reasons I never got the funding was I'm a fashion brand from Kerala. I'm being very honest. People are like, how can you build a fashion brand from Kerala? Fashion and all that cannot come from Kerala. That's kind of impossible. So this was always there. But then I realized one thing, you need to get your traction, you need to get your numbers, then only people will listen to you. So then, please meet my co-founder Gopika, she's my wife also. So we just started focus firing on what we need to do to build the brand, to get the numbers, to get traction. So once we did that and got the investors on board, from then, at least in my experience, what I got to know is they don't put pressure on you unless you put pressure on them. So for them, once they put their funds and join you, they are like a co-founder at the end of the day. Because they want the brand to do good, they want the brand to grow. So it's not like they came in, so they're like, I'll destroy this brand. Why would someone put money in that way? They want this to grow, obviously. But when you take the wrong directions, because they invested in you because of X, Y, Z reason, and suddenly you become ABC or maybe Z, Y, X, then they're like, this is not what the person who I met, whom I invested. So they might put pressure. But for me, at least till date, I'm a first-time founder. I don't have a degree in business, nothing, no pedigree. It's the first time I'm doing this, and my investors are very familiar with it also. So again, coincidentally, one of my investors is actually here in the same room, and he just walked in. Hi, Santro. So he is one of the first guys to have met my traction and introduced to my investors. And I did my seed round of $1.25 million. And right now, we are almost at the stage of closing another $5 million round. That's a Series A. So this is my experience. I've never got a pressure, at least till now, fortunately, because I believe I could do things as per what they expected of me. So yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, so what I think is that if you find the right investor, they don't really interfere in a lot of things. After all, they are betting on you, right? So they trust you and they are betting a lot of money on you and your idea and the company. And initially it's just you, the founder and let's say a co-founder, and not even the product will be there in the pre-seed round, right? So it's all about trust. And if you find the right investor who understands your industry, they don't really involve a lot. So an ideal investor, they should be there when you need an help. For example, let's say you want to hire a head of sales and let's say you want to hire it in US, they might be able to help you because they are familiar with the market. Many of their portfolio companies might have done this before, etc. And they can also connect you with a lot of other investors. They can vouch for you. And all these things are things that you should be asking them. And it should not be like they will be asking you an update every week, or they should be asking questions like, okay, the revenue is not growing as per the projection shown in the pitch deck, etc., etc. So all these things are like an experiment, and things can change and things can deviate from the plans, right? So experienced investors who understands you and your industry, they know that they should not interfere too much and they should just trust you with using their money or spending their money on things that matter to your company.
I think I agree with Navaneeth. I mean, it is not just the investor choosing you, it is also about you choosing the investors, right? See, I think in my startup journey, I've come across two kinds of founders. One would be a young, bright mind starting something very cutting edge, something very different. Other could be, founders like us. We've spent around 16, 17 years in this industry. We don't know anything else other than this, right? So investors, what I've realized is, for founders like us who've had experience, there's some element of respect also that comes in, that these guys know how to run the company the best. They bring in elements of, of funding only, right? So we've been fortunate to have such investors on the cap table. The other thing is, it is also important to, though you are an experienced founder from the segment, it is also important to keep the investor also completely informed in what you do, not from a point of view of them getting involved in your business, but from the point of view of growing this company together. So I agree with both the founders here. It's also a question of how best you select an investor. It's not just about an investor selecting you.
Yeah, I hope at least that one fear is clear for most people now. My next question is to Navaneeth. So Navaneeth is a very unconventional founder for most people. He's building something in open source. He's a solo founder. He's a very anti-VC kind of thesis he has as a founder. But still he managed to attract one of the top investors from, not from the country, but from the globe. So can you tell how did you do that? Can you tell the journey in a very short way?
Yeah, before that I'll explain what these red flags are. So I'm a solo founder, and when I was building Tooljet, I was pretty clear that I need to raise funding because I cannot build it as a side project. So the surface area of the entire project is kind of huge. So it is also open source and it is also into developer tooling. So right now a lot of VCs will say that they are into developer tooling, infra, etc. But there aren't a lot of VCs who understand the exact problem. So before launching the product, that is while I was building the product, I actually reached out to a lot of VCs. And I think the answer was pretty clear, as in they did not trust me. And just like he was saying, if there is traction, it's easy to raise. And at that time, I didn't even have the product. And I don't have a degree. I'm a solo founder, and I'm building an open source project from a small town called Calicut. So these were all red flags, and it was very difficult to connect to VCs. And I also have been raised before this. So I don't really have any network or anything. So before starting Tooljet, I used to be a proper 100% introvert. I did not even talk to anyone who was sitting across me. So I didn't have any connections or anything. I didn't know a lot of people who could connect me to VCs or who could vouch for me to VCs. So with all these things, what happened is that traction happened. So after we launched Tooljet in June 2021, we got our first 1,000 stars on GitHub in less than 8 hours. And that's a very rare thing. Like, you open source a project and you get a lot of tractions. And stars doesn't mean a lot of things, but it shows that the community wants this and they support you, right? So with that traction, we were able to raise our first round, which we called our pre-seed round. And I think it happened in less than 7 days of launching the product. And the funny thing is that when we had the first meeting with Nexus, who is our VC, I had a chat with the partner at Nexus. And then what he said is that if we are investing, we will invest in less than 24 hours. And then evening, he called me again and he said that, okay, I need you to talk to my SaaS team. Some of them are based in US, so you'll have to do it tomorrow early morning. And we had a call at around 7 a.m. in the morning, and I got the term sheet by 9 a.m. So good VCs, they know that, okay, this is what exactly they are looking for. and they will move really fast. And they know that other people, other VCs, they're also competing, right? So other VCs, they might also be interested and they might lose the deal, right? And in fact, I did not go for the best deal that I got, best in terms of the valuation or the amount. And the reason is that when I looked at the portfolio of Nexus, I saw that they have around 15 developer tooling and open source companies. And that's a great fit, right? And the partner who I was talking to, he invested in 3 companies that are kind of similar. Similar as in they are into developer tooling and they're into enterprise B2B segment. So that was a great fit, and it turned out to be a really good choice coming from someone who did not have any experience in raising.
So can you also tell about your Microsoft thing? How did Microsoft end up as being one of your investors?
Yeah, so what happened is that when we closed our second round of funding, Microsoft actually reached out because they are into developer ecosystems, and since they own GitHub, they are pushing a lot of things on open source and developer ecosystems, and they wanted, also they have a competing product which is really old, so they wanted it as a strategic investment, and we did not even try to optimize for more valuation or anything. We just added them to the previous round itself. So we told them that, okay, you can just join the previous round and we can go for whatever you can invest. So we didn't need more money at that point. We just needed that brand value, because when customers are looking at us, we can say that sometimes we are competing with Microsoft. They have their own product which is competing, and we can say that we are also backed by Microsoft, and it helps a lot in branding.
So yeah, I think Tooljet is a classic example that if you build something great and what market wants, the investors will come to you. You don't have to chase investors.
Yeah, when you get to choose your investors, that's the best thing, right? Otherwise, you are pitching to, let's say, 200 investors, or, some founders are saying that, they had around 200 calls for raising the pre-seed round, right? At that point, we don't get to choose. And we realized it when we raised the second round. We reached out to a lot of people, and a lot of people were not really interested. But when things are inbound and when people are interested in your company, you get to choose who you want to work with, right? And that's the best thing. And I think it's all luck that we got one of the best as an inbound, and we were able to close it very quickly.
I think the combination of pretty much everything. So my next question is to Swaroop. So we have been hearing a lot of this Bharat story or India to India tree. So we hear it only, right? We only see very few real life examples. The closest I know is Swaroop, who is doing extremely well from a city like Trivandrum. He has managed to raise 2 rounds of funding. They are EBITDA positive for a long time. So I get these comments often that if you have to build, you have to move out of Kerala, you have to be in Bangalore, you have to be in Delhi, or you have to be in Bombay. So how did you manage to do all this while being in Kerala still? I think still you are HQ'd in Kerala only, right? So how did you manage to do it? You are a first time founder, you don't have a lot of pedigree as far as I know, you don't have a lot of connections outside. So how did you successfully manage to do it while being here?
So to be honest, that was not a very strategic decision that I had long back. I'll be brutally honest. So I'm from Trivandrum. So when we started, and my co-founder, she's also born and brought up, we were born here from schooling days itself. So we know each other from almost 17 years now. From school day itself, one thing, we had a very good synergy. So whatever decisions we take, that already had a kind of, equilibrium always. When it comes to growing the brand also, it was always that. Because when we started, it was Trivandrum. Of course, we know the pulse of the city, we know the pulse of people, what they would like, what timing works for them. So it was best we'll start hyperlocal with Trivandrum. So it was not like from day one I'll go directly on Myntra, Amazon, all these platforms, I'll go become India's first. I knew it was not going to happen on day one. So it was of course Trivandrum. So first when we started, it was just a small flea market that we started with. Just flea market, I went with some 300 t-shirts, but got insane demand, and we got to know, okay, there is a demand for this. This is a niche that I'm working on. So we just started with a small office, 150 square feet, that was in Trivandrum, because I couldn't afford Bangalore back then, to be honest. So we just put a small office here. We put a small kiosk here. Then the first outlet that we did, that's in Lulu Mall, Trivandrum again, because Lulu Trivandrum was more approachable. I could knock on their door every day. I used to mail to Lulu Kochi and all other malls. Mail reply is tough, like we just discussed. But knocking on their door and actually bothering them is kind of easy because I'm in Trivandrum. So after a lot of spam that I did, one of the leasing heads from Lulu, they gave an opportunity to meet. And after hearing the concepts and numbers, they were kind of interested. Okay, you put your outlet, let's see. So it is again a 290 square feet space. That's a very small outlet. And all these first things that we did, it all originated from Trivandrum. So it was not like from day one, I wanted to do in Trivandrum, I'll do this. But for me, that was the best option that I had. But again, like I said, a lot of investors told me, if I want to invest in you, you have to move out of Trivandrum. You have to come to Bangalore. You need to come to Mumbai, or you cannot build a brand. But these are the same investors who were asking me, what is your pedigree? I'll invest only if you have a pedigree. And the question that they asked me is like, So at least now I am in this fashion field for 7 years. And being an investor, they should be trying to understand what is the field that I'm doing. So when they compare with a tech or SaaS company and compare the metrics, I know instantly this is a reject. Just like you said, we should be picking the investor rightly, right? So they're comparing me with a tech company who can do 85% margins. They're like, you doing only 50% gross margin. How can we invest in you? So that's a reject. So like that, this was also one of the rejecting factors. Whenever an investor told me, you need to go to Mumbai, you need to go to Bangalore, that's an instant reject. I know this investor is not going to work. Because once if I bend and accept that, tomorrow the same person will ask me, okay, put an outlet in Delhi, put an outlet in Kolkata. That is not in my DNA. That's not what my brand does. So yeah, that is just along the journey it came up. Even right now, from that 150 square feet, now I have a 15,000 square feet office here in Trivandrum that has close to 150 employees. And even we have a warehouse also in Trivandrum, head warehouse, that's almost 10,000 square feet. So all the secondary expansions we have done in Bangalore, Mumbai, everywhere, but all the head departments and that all stand in Trivandrum still. Yeah.
Would you be still executing Trivandrum for another decade if you have to?
Yeah, easily. No, actually we are putting another office in Bangalore just because we need to get some, for example, there are senior talents that I need to get. Their family, everything is based out of Bangalore. So I cannot be asking them to move everything and come to Toronto. So just for their easier facilitation, I'm just putting another office. But that's a smaller office that I'm going to do. I might put in Bangalore, Delhi also, but Toronto is going to be the headquarters, yes.
I think if you truly believe in what you're building, right, wherever you're headquartered, eventually the world will accept you and come in terms with it. So yeah, now George is another interesting case, exact opposite to Swaroop. He was in ITC for a long time, almost 1.5 decades. So now he relocated to Kerala, but he also raised fund, but in an exactly different manner. So could you tell how did your previous experience help you raise the funds? They were raised from JSW and InfoEdge. They're one of the biggest investors in the country. So how did you manage to use your pedigree for your advantage?
Yeah, so let me just decode the industry we are in first, right? So we deal in spices. Spices is a category which can be value added to any degree. And India is known as the land of spices, right? So spices, you can powder spices, you can take oils out of spices. It even goes in baby food. It's used in paints, nutraceutical products. So it's one category that can be, let's say, value added to any degree. So investors at that point in time, which was during COVID, were interested in a space, one which could have multiple degrees of value addition and an evergreen kind of industry. You will not stop eating, right? So that is how there was a lookout pan-India on companies which could take something which is very indigenous to the country, something which is relatively evergreen and with the scope of value addition. So there was an investor interest at that point in time. So like I said during my introduction, the lookout was to invest in a company run by somebody who's experienced the product, right? Somebody who's dealt with the issues in supply chain, right? India is, though we say it's the land of spices, it no longer has, let's say, the advantage it had years back. Countries like Vietnam and China quickly taking over. So investors are very clear they didn't want to go through the learning curve again in investing. So they were pretty clear that they wanted to put money in some founders. So me and my partners together, we have around 35 years experience in the industry. So that was a thought process. InfoEdge was one of the first investors to kind of bite, right? So they were pretty clear that they wanted to get into the whole agri segment. They were evaluating pulses, grains, fruits. Then they kind of understood the future scope in spices. They came, let's say they identified us, and then it was easy. For us, I think as a company, what has really helped is a combination of experience from the industry and let's say people coming in from outside bringing in new ideas. So fundraising, I don't think, I mean, it's an ongoing journey for a company like us or anybody in this field to reach market level globally. But I really think that what has really helped to answer your question is a lot of homework done by investors themselves on the space rather than them getting, let's say, a lot of decks on multiple industries. They've done their homework. They were pretty clear that they wanted to invest in this clear space, and then they were looking for somebody with experience. They found us. So I think that's a simple way to put it.
Thank you. My next question would be, it's a common question to all of you. So how do you deliver? Obviously, when you're dealing with startups, right, there will be everyday ups and downs. You'll fail a lot. So how do you deliver bad news to investors? What is the best way to deliver bad news?
The best way to do it is not sugarcoat it, right? For instance, we have weekly calls with investors. So no bad news or good news can be missed, right? Every week we have conversations with 3 different investors. So we express, for us, we are dependent on a lot of factors, the company's growth, either tariff in the US or let's say a drought or regulations within the country. So investors also understand that there's say 70% in the hands of the founders, 30% which is external. So it is best to convey the news to them at the right point in time. I think we've done that, right? We've been lucky enough to have, so far, investors who understand that. So I don't think delaying the bad news is an option for us, right? I think it's the best to just convey it.
Yeah, as an open source company, I used to send a bad update for around 3 years. So we were very clear that for the first 2 or 3 years, we won't be having a lot of revenue or revenue growth. We won't even talk a lot about it. And the reason is that we knew that our market is enterprise industry, and they won't really adopt a startup tool. They know that the startups always pivot, they shut down, they have many other issues, right? They also get acquired and whatever happens, right? So for a large company to adopt a tool that is critical for their infra, they wait for some time. So we knew that even if we try to monetize aggressively by building a sales, marketing, whatever teams in the early stages, it won't really pay off. So I think for around 2, 3 or 4 years, I used to send investor updates which said 0 revenue or 0 revenue growth. At that time, we had some customers, but it's like we'll get some good customer who is really interested in our paid version. And to be honest, we didn't really have a paid version. So whenever these customers came in, whatever features that they specifically wanted, we used to just build them and give it in like around 2 months or whatever, if it fits our product roadmap, the long-term roadmap. So until then, I used to send this update, which is basically no revenue growth this month. And they were very okay with that because they know that this happens to developer tooling and infra companies, and they have been seeing this for a long time. So that wasn't an issue. And to answer your question very precisely, if there's a bad news, you should just tell that. There's no way of hiding it, right? Eventually, you have to break it, and then the trust is broken. Because what happens is that when you raise funding from an institutional VC, so let's say for every $1 they are $1 million they are investing in seed round, they have set aside, let's say 9 to 15 million to invest you in future. So let's say your company is going really well, they are the ones who will come to you and say that, okay, let's do another round of funding and we will lead that. And for that, you need trust. In early stages, everything is based on trust and the story. You don't really have a lot of traction to show, right? So you should not break that trust. If there's a bad news, it's better to tell everyone in advance. And usually the bad news are like, for example, your head of sales is leaving, or you have to fire your head of marketing, or another leader is leaving, etc. So you have to notify all these things on time. So what I typically do is that I send an investor update every month, and it's very short, but it includes all the relevant summaries in product, revenue, GTM, etc. So that open communication, it has helped a lot in gaining trust. They know that if there's a bad news, I won't just hide it.
Swaroop.
This answer is actually again rooted back to where we started the discussion. So if you pick the right investors, you can always go with the right problems. For example, as he's got an investor who understands tech, they know this is gonna be like this. So if a consumer VC would have invested in him, he would always be obsessed with consumers. What's the revenue? What's the CAC? How much it would have gone up? So that would have put immense pressure. And for him also, it'll be like, how can I communicate? It's the exact same for us also. So when I did the seed round, the lead investor was one of the co-founders of Myntra. So being one of the largest fashion innovators or revolutionists in India, they know how fashion works, how ups and downs fashion can have. So even when I go to them with a problem, sometimes when I go to them with a problem, with a bad news, for them it's actually good news. Because they're like, this problem is good, man, you can utilize this, you can take a spike like this. So that is where, when you pick the right investor, it actually turns to be a boon than a curse. Usually we'll be afraid, oh man, how to tell this, how do I do this? So like, it's like the progress card we got in school and we got to sign it from parents, right? We'll be thinking how to get it, how to show it to them. Don't take it in that way. You need to pick your, I wouldn't say parent, but the investor in such a way. You need to be confident that you shouldn't be hiding. You can easily go and tell them. For me, I'll be very honest, when I get this issue, when a problem comes up, I run and go tell them. Because it's not like hiding from them, rather it's like, I need a solution. So again, as a brand, as a founder, I might have 7 on 10 answers. I don't have all 10 answers. So 3 answers are missing. These 3 answers is what the investor brings in. It's not just a fund. They need to bring in some value to the table. So this value is where that problem and the answer comes. So yes.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to look at it, right? There is an opportunity in every problem, and good investor can show you that opportunity. So we have been speaking a lot about the right investor. So we never mentioned what are the criterias. Sometimes it's sector agnostic. It could be sector fit actually. So more than that, right? So let's say if you have 5 term sheet from D2C specific investors, for in case Navaneeth has 5 term sheets from AI SaaS investors, and you have 5 term sheets from investors who invest in agri-tech. So how would you choose between these 5? What would be number 1 criteria? We always talk about investors choosing startup. We never talk enough that startup choosing investors. There's hardly any discussions about it, right? So how would you pick if you get, let's say, 5 term sheets?
So that's a very long thing to say, but I will try to summarize it. So like I just mentioned, Sandro, he's one of the first person who has helped me in my fundraise. He's from Delhi actually. He's a half Malayali, he understands Malayalam, yes. But that is the reason he could help me out. Whenever I talk to investors, like I said, I used to get rejected because I'm from Kerala. How can you build a fashion brand from Kerala? But he's a half Malayali, he understands what is the value, what we have created in Kerala. So that is the reason he could meet me with the right people. So the first ever investor that he met me with is the co-founder of Myntra, and that is an instant yes. So that too, in usual scenarios, we go to investors, we pitch to them. So this is the opposite story again. The investor flew down to Trivandrum and he met us at our office. So he was like, fascinating story, good brand, I'll go meet them. Very cool guy. He just flew down and came to our office. Suddenly one day morning, we're looking, this guy standing in front of our office. I'm like, what man, what is this? So that was the experience. So again, picking that and all, it's good. It's fancy to hear. When you're in a desperate shoe, you need to get the funding. You don't have runway for tomorrow. You cannot be putting your leg like this and no, reject. You can't do this. You are in a desperate situation. So either you need to have immense traction, that you have a luxury of 3 to 4 months, or maybe 6 months, 12 months runway, you get to pick your investors. Or else you need to be on a die-hard mode that I'll go to any extent, I'll keep it afloat. So for me, I would be very honest, when I started this, I used to reject investors, okay, good thing, maybe swag to tell, but I was out of runway also. I needed money. So again, sorry for another introduction. My mother is also here. She is one of the first investors. She has given me her gold to sell actually. That was one of the first angel investments that I did. Started with that. Then my co-founder and wife, we had an apartment that was given as a gift by her parents to us after we got married. We sold it off. That was our second investment. So it's not like we were sitting in luxury and picking our investors. We were doing die-hard stuff on one side, selling our own stuff, taking our own risk. But we took our time and picked the right investors. That is the reason why I'm comfortably sitting here and talking to you now. Or else I'll be getting calls and messages like you just said, where is this thing, how what is happening? So yeah.
That's a great story. So I didn't have an apartment to sell, so I had to go to VCs. Yeah, so I think, let's say the question was like, let's say you have 5 term sheets from 5 different VCs. What that means is that everything is going really well for you. And that's the only reason why 5 VCs are interested in you, right? And at that stage, you need to reject the VCs in a very different way. So let's say you're talking to the portfolio companies of this VC. Let's say that's the current portfolio company. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't say a lot of things about how the VC acts when things go wrong. So a lot of times the companies cannot get the traction that they want. For example, a lot of companies, I mean, when you look at the portfolio of any VC, their failure rate is very high. Sometimes it is closer to 90% or more, right? And most of their companies fail. So you need to find the founders from companies that failed and ask them how these people behaved, I mean these VCs behaved when things went wrong, right? That's when you get to understand what this firm is, what their culture is, etc. And when you are raising from VC firms, the culture of individual partners also matters. It's the entire firm, it will be having a culture, but you're raising and you're working with only one partner from that VC, right? VC firm, right? So you need to understand how this person behaved when things went wrong for a startup. And I think what I believe is that there are no good VCs or bad VCs. The difference is just your traction. If your traction is really good, everyone will be nice to you. If traction is not great, everyone will treat you like they are not really interested or anything. And the other red flag that you should use, check in a VC is that, do they respect you? Do they respect your time? So when you fundraise, I don't know how many of you have tried to fundraise in the past, what you will notice is that majority of the VCs won't join a meeting on time, which is a huge red flag personally for me. So, I mean, I've been building companies and a lot of things for the last around 15 years. And if someone doesn't show up on time, I get really annoyed. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad or anything, but it's a matter of alignment or fit, right? So I cannot work with someone who always is late for a meeting. So the VC should respect the founder's time, right? And that's another red flag a lot of people will ignore. And the reason is that most of the time we are after the VC, we chase them like anything, we need that funding, etc., right? At that point, we will ignore all the red flags. We are just after their money. But when you look very closely, you will figure that, okay, this is a person or a firm from whom I don't really want to raise, right? So just keep this in mind, don't chase too much, then you will ignore all the red flags. It will come and bite you later after 2 years or 3 years if things go wrong. And when you look at the stats, the chance of something going wrong is close to 95 or 99%, right? So you have to think of the scenario really well.
I think I fully agree with Navaneeth and Swaroop, right? So there is, for us, what is important is to understand the VC's thesis, right? Why are they putting money in us? Because one, I mean, like Navaneeth said, all of us, even I didn't have an apartment to sell, so we wanted money from the VCs. So us founders might get carried away in our pitch, right? At the end of the day, if you have 3-4 VCs who are willing to write the check, it is also important to calibrate and understand whether they have understood the business properly. Otherwise, like Navaneeth said, there's a high probability that these things will bite you back, right? So we did have a situation wherein we had 3 prominent VCs who were it didn't come to a term sheet, parallel term sheets, but 3 prominent VCs who were interested in us. We took that step by understanding what their understanding of our business was, right? We took some time to kind of understand and evaluate what they really thought of the business, what they think is our short-term and long-term growth plan going to be like. I mean, we did some time studying that. So that is how we decided to pick one VC. So I think it is also important that you don't really take the plunge for the money itself. Yes, money is important, funds are important, but you're really entering into a long-term marriage. So I think you really need to understand whether they know you properly too. So I think that was important for us. We did our diligence too in our little way to figure out if they are the right fit.
To summarize, if you have to choose between survival and raising, just go ahead and raise. Don't think of anything. If you have the privilege and liberty to choose between, study your VCs properly. What Navaneeth said is so true. How people treat you when things are going wrong is a big indicator of what they are. Everybody is nice to you when everything is going fair and well. When things go wrong, people actually get exposed. So study how they treated the failed startup. That's a very good insight. And like Swaroop said, if you have an apartment, sell that. When there is no apartment to sell, you just raise from wherever you get. Survival is the biggest thing. So yeah, also study what you're getting into or understand exactly who you're getting into, what you're getting into. So we have only 2 more minutes left. So just to wind up the entire session, I'll ask one last question to all of you. So if I know a lot of aspiring founders out there who want to raise their first check. So if they have to maximize their chances of getting their first check, what are the 1 or 2 things that they should do right? Each can add their own perspective or your own point.
So like I said, I'm a first-time entrepreneur, not much of experience in racing. It's just 2 rounds that I've done. I might have talked to almost all VCs in the country right now. Glad to have that experience. But one thing, like I said, like how the VC chooses you, you need to choose your VC and make sure that conversation is truly fruitful. So again, it's just a continuation of what Navaneeth just said. There are VCs who talk to you and they won't even reply back to you. They'll just ghost you. So that is also again one way of mistreatment. So if the same VC comes back to you after 2 months when you have traction, don't fall for that. So that's one of the things. So pick your investor wisely, or if you don't have an investor, be your own investor through traction or your own confidence. I think, yeah, that is pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, traction is the best thing. I mean, if you have traction, you don't even need to raise, right? So you can delay it as long as you want. But always try to go for the right VC. So if I am investing in an early stage company, what I will look for is that, I think that's a question that comes up a lot. Like if you are an investor and you are investing in a very early stage company, what exactly are you looking for, or what exactly VCs are looking for? So in very early stages, so let's say pre-seed or seed, good VC, they won't really expect a product or traction. That's the truth. You can raise, I'm just talking about SaaS and B2B mostly. In D2C and other areas, it will be very different. And this is the only thing I know, right? So you don't really need a product or traction when you raise pre-seed or seed round. And they invest the money based on the founder's profile. Profile as in, is this founder experienced in this industry? Can they pull it off? That's the only thing they are thinking about when investing. And I clearly said industry because they are not really looking into your idea. They know that if the founder is smart and if the founder is having enough experience in the same industry, and if the industry is really big, they might figure out something while trying to build this. It might not be the same product that they have right now that is going to be successful. It might be something else. So good VCs know this and they always bet on founders. So you don't need to wait a lot until you have traction. The problem with traction is that, so let's say you're reporting revenue. So let's say you have 50K ARR, and once you say that you have 50K ARR, these guys will come back next month and ask, what's the revenue growth? So once you start talking about revenue, everything will be assessed based on just the growth, right? So initially for pre-seed and seed, just try to make it happen just using the team's relevance in building this product in this industry at this time, instead of going for just traction.
Yeah, I think from my experience to early stage, founders would be go for only what you need. I don't think there is, from my experience, there's any need to kind of raise funds more than what you actually need. So what would have worked for us is take what you need, build traction as Navaneeth said, then probably go for further rounds, right? Don't go overboard if money is available and then and take a plunge. Take only what you need, build traction, then engage further with investors. The second thing that worked for us from the very beginning is, I'm not a solopreneur. What worked for me is, couldn't have done this all myself. We had to have partners, right? So choosing a partner even before the company is formed is a very crucial step, right? If you can manage the whole journey yourself, nothing like it. But let me tell you, it is an ocean out there. You would really need to find somebody with complementary skill sets as a partner. The third point is, what worked for us is, we went for incubation. With 15, 16 years experience, we really didn't need mentoring and incubation, but we wanted an incubator from the network perspective, right? So these are incubators are generally, they come with their own small funds, but they are, let's say, well networked in a specific industry. So we had Indigram as an incubator, which is a very well-reputed incubator in the agri space. They kind of did the initial work of identifying the right VC for the space. So I think these are the three things that worked for us in Growcoms.
Swaroop wants to add one last point here.
No, this is something that I wanted to share. There are two things that me and my co-founder always tell to ourselves. So everyone appreciates unicorn. I want to be a unicorn someday. Unicorns are great. But we always tell, unicorn is always a myth. No one has seen a unicorn yet. But everyone wants to be a unicorn. But we, on the other side, we love to be cockroaches. Cockroach is something, you put it in any ambience, any environment, it will survive. You thrash it, it will still move. So that's what we would like to be. So even if funding doesn't come, we want to self-sustain on ourselves. So be a cockroach always. That's one. Secondly, don't be a fish in the ocean. Always be a shark in the pond. So don't go pan-India, global, I will be global leader next week. Be Trivandrum's greatest brand. Be Kerala's best loved brand. Then be South India's favorite brand. Then you can be India. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Think big but start small always. So adding to George's point, one last point I wanted to add from my end also. Raise what you need, but you should always raise enough. So what happens if you raise too less, you will end up burning money without making any progress. So when you go to the next investor, they will be like, you already raised, you have hardly made any progress. So don't raise too much, but don't raise too little. You need to find your optimum. You need to have a plan in that regard. With that, we'll wind up today's session.
Any questions from the audience? Hi, so my name is Nandana. So me and my partner to have a clothing brand, but it's stuck somewhere because we are students. Like I'm currently pursuing my engineering, and he just graduated from college. So it was a hit in our college, but again, bootstrapping was a problem. Like fundraising was a problem. So that's not actually my question. Is I really did want Naureen ma'am to be here because I don't know why I just love her so much. Seriously, now I've seen that. Yeah. So I have seen Swaroop sir's partner here as well, who's the co-founder. So my question is kindly out of the topic. So what is the most exciting part to have your partner as a co-founder? Because we do create problems sometimes, dilemmas can happen because I do create, but there is always something that is very exciting or something cherishing having your partner as your co-founder. So what would that be?
I'll say from my experience. So one thing, you don't have to explain anything. That is one of the greatest things that I have. So I'm not sure how it works when it's in the other scenario, but for me, if I mess up something, I don't have to explain. That is one of the things. If I do something good also, it's not like I did like this, I don't have to explain. She just appreciates. If I fail, she'll just be like, we'll do it next time. So that is one of the things. And secondly, it's about the synergy, I would say again. So being co-founder partners, there is actually, when you talk to VCs, this is again my experience, there are a lot of VCs who don't invest in couples because they are afraid co-founders can survive, but if a couple personal issue comes, then the brand will get affected. So they're worried of that. So that is something you need to have a synergy on. That we, I have to say, what to say? That is one of the strengths that we have. So she handles all the creative product and that side of our brand, and I handle the finance, marketing, and ops of our brand. So we don't cross our lines at any point, unless and until we go to and invite them for a suggestion or feedback. So she never asked me, why you were in loss last month? Why did our negative margin come? So I never ask her, why did product is looking like this? Why this model is like this? So that is something that helped us a lot, I would say.
Sir, please.
I think the biggest advantage I feel is the ability to be vulnerable with your partner. So with anybody else, right, you always have the protective layer. You can't be vulnerable. With your partner, you what you are, your true self. So that's the one thing I appreciate a lot. Plus, like Swaroop said, we have clear boundaries on who is the final decision maker in something. So Naureen is the final decision maker when it comes to product, when it comes to customer service, customer happiness. So I take calls on finance, marketing and everything. So we have clear boundaries in that regard. We never overstep each other. Big decisions we take with discussion, yeah.